Добрый день, уважаемые друзья. В этом
In this video, I want to tell you how emotions affect health.
здоровья. Всякий человек
Every person is created to experience pleasant emotions.
приятных эмоций. Например,
For example, a child, a young man, or a young woman most of the time, lives their life in pleasant emotions. What are these emotions?
это
They are
энтузиазм,
enthusiasm,
радость,
joy,
сильный
and
пыл.
strong interest in life.
Эти эмоции вызывают
These
полное
emotions cause a positive and harmonious mood,
позволяет жить
which allows one to live easily
в
and
этом
carefree.
эмоциональном состоянии
In this
человек
emotional
верит,
state,
что всё
a person is sure that he can do everything and everything he wants will come true, and there is no doubt about it.
никаких сомнений в этом. Такой человек
He
постоянно
constantly wants to act.
это
This
касается
applies not only to young people but also to adults who have been able to keep their sanity and positive attitude toward life.
и позитивный настрой к жизни. Эти люди
These
отличаются
people differ from most of their peers in their ability to plan and execute what they have planned.
намеченное. Они активно
They actively take up the cause and bring it to a successful result.
результата. У этих людей
These people have no psychosomatic illnesses.
они
They have a strong immunity to viral diseases.
заболевания. Эти люди
They practically never get sick.
они болеют. В сексе
In sex, they are distinguished by a high sexual interest, which they often sublimate into creative energy.
энергию. Эти люди
They
преданы
are devoted spouses and adore children.
детей. Однако
However, not everyone can live their whole life on a wave of joy and strong interest in life.
интересы к жизни. Наступает
There comes a point where a person's emotional background sinks to a lower emotion.
к более низким эмоциям. Я говорю
I'm
сейчас
talking now about an emotion called constructivism.
конструктивизм. В этом
In this emotional state, a person realizes that his life is good and stable, and he doesn't want to change anything about it.
менять умеют. Так
Thus comes emotional stagnation.
стагнация. В этом
In this emotional state, the person is still capable of quite high activity.
активность. Он любит
He likes sports and exercise.
мнение, у него
He has good immunity,
иммунитет,
high resistance to common infections.
обычным инфекциям. Практически
There are practically no colds.
а даже если
And even if an illness happens, he quickly recovers.
быстро выздоравливает. У этих
These people have a high interest in sex.
сексу с детьми
With children, they are friendly and benevolent.
доброжелательно. И если человек не
If a
пробует
person will not make an effort to return his psycho-emotional mood to the level of high emotions,
эмоций, то
then after a certain time he will start living in new, even lower emotional vibrations.
в эмоциональных вибрациях. Я имею в виду
I am referring to such emotions as weak interest in real life and monotony.
фразе. Это
This is a very familiar feeling to all of us when every day is like the previous day.
похож на предыдущий. В этом состоянии
In this state, one begins to accumulate mental fatigue from life.
от жизни. Человек думает,
The person thinks, let things go the way they are.
все равно ничего
Nothing can change anyway.
мне уже
I don't need
не
anything.
нужно. Человек
The person becomes less active in life,
выполняет
performs his or her duties without desire,
уже не
which no longer brings him or her any satisfaction.
творение. Такой
This type of psychotype of person is characterized by automatism and pattern in sexual relations.
отношениях вообще
Mechanics and lack of initiative are apparent in communication with children.
безинициативность. Воспитание
Such a person is not very interested in raising children,
и как
and children are left to their own devices.
сами себе. Это
This psycho-emotional phase is the beginning of the psychosomatic illness.
заболеваний. Начиная с
Beginning with this phase, the person easily falls ill with colds and viral diseases, and their treatment becomes difficult and protracted.
сложным и затяжным. Как правило,
As a rule, at this stage, diseases of the stomach and digestive system in general begin.
однако
However, this is not the bottom of the psycho-emotional well, and the person continues his fall even lower.
и следующий
And the next phase of the descent into emotional hell is called boredom.
на этом этапе
At this stage, the person tries to do nothing and takes no responsibility.
ответственность. Пусть кто-то делает.
Let someone else do it, and I'll
В
watch.
результате такого
As a result of such a psychological attitude, a man has no social realization.
социальной реализации у него
His relations with people deteriorate,
его
his actions are most often senseless,
мысленно
and he usually does not finish his work.
не доводит. Человек
The
постепенно
person loses
теряет
interest in reproduction.
продолжение рода, секс становится
Sex becomes seldom needed, and he simply tolerates children.
скудной
Colds, viral, infectious, and other acute diseases become a norm of life for such people.
людей. Они часто
They are frequently and severely ill.
следующее эмоциональное
The next emotional phase is the emotion of rejection and heartache.
душевные боли. Отторжение
Rejection is a negatively colored feeling,
чувство
a strong form of rejection of something or someone.
или кого-то. Душевная боль.
Mental pain or mental anguish is a painful feeling of inner tension,
внутреннего
accompanied by longing and a feeling of heaviness in the chest and heart area.
тяжести в груди в области сердца. Человек
The
становится
person becomes asocial and irritable.
раздражительным. Его
His psychological mood can be characterized by the following statements.
высказываниями.
You're wrong. Stop that nonsense. Or I'll kill you. Shut up.
Замолчи.
In such an emotional state, a person is only capable of destructive actions. The person is harmful to society and dangerous to his or her own life. As a rule, these people have an aversion to sex, and children get on their nerves, and so they pick on them for all sorts of trifles. At this stage, there are diseases associated with the deposition of substances. These are arthritis, mesenchymal dystrophies, obesity, and other diseases that are difficult to treat. The next emotional phase is the emotion of anger and latent hostility. Anger is an emotion that encompasses everything from mild irritation to intense rage. If others do not adhere to our norms, we experience anger. Latent hostility is one of the most dangerous emotions. A person in a state of latent hostility demonstrates that he is a friend, meanwhile, his intention is hidden and he is ready to stab you in the back at any moment. These people are so frightened that they are unable to show their hostility openly. They are asocial and unaware of the condition in which they find themselves. In their opinion, life is shit. They are surrounded by many government officials, police officers, teachers, and medics, many journalists, leaders of totalitarian regimes and sects. From all these people comes nothing but theft, treachery, lies, slander, and gossip. Benevolent devaluation of another's life, ridicule, suppression, and subjugation of a person under the mask of concern for him. Under the mask of sympathy or friendship. All this is hidden hostility. The person, having entered this phase, thinks and constructs his line of social behavior something like this: life is shit. All people are bastards. But, naive fools are useful, they can and should be used for own purposes. These people don't like work. Work in any form they don't like very much. They are capable of doing minor work while creating a lot of confusion and chaos. Things are always not completed. In sex they like violence, they are prone to sadism. Rough sex, with an emphasis on humiliation and submission. They are characterized by child abuse, disguised by concern for their health and future. This stage of psychosomatic affection is characterized by the development of liver disease, endocrine system, and neurological disorders. Descending to the next floor of psycho-emotional hell. This is the place where the person is constantly experiencing a feeling of restlessness. At this level, the person needs promiscuous sexual relations, sadomasochism, and other non-standard sexual forms of satisfaction. Such people are not capable of a permanent relationship. They are not interested in the family. They are as interested in sex as hunting and collecting new sexual trophies. Going even lower. On this floor, a person experiences emotions like fear, despair, daze, false sympathy, and licking. When a person is afraid and desperate, he is always trying to get sympathy and sucking up to those around him. His life is subject to the following principles: that's it, I'm going to get killed. I'm not going to get out of this bad situation alive. Or what am I going to do? This problem seems to have no solution. Or whatever you want. What am I? If only you were all right. Fine, I agree to all your conditions. Everything will be as you say. In terms of social realization, such a person is only capable of illogical, absurd actions that do more harm than good. This person demands constant attention and advice in the performance of current affairs. He or she is like a child. He or she took half a step and looks at his/her mother, whether she is satisfied in what she will say. Only in the role of the mother are the people around. These people are characterized by a complete lack of sexual desire, impotence, anxious restlessness, constant anxiety and worry about children and their future. The person is not interested, does not look after himself, and does not support himself properly. At this stage, chronic organ dysfunctions arise. What they are different diseases, which kill a person and are not treated with pills and injections, if the psychosomatic damage is not corrected. I have repeated many times in my videos and now I will say it again, about 80% of all diseases are psychosomatic, they are not treated with pills. Check out my videos on the homepage of my website and you'll understand what psychosomatic is. Well, let's see what's waiting for us below the floor. On this floor, one experiences an emotion such as grief. Grief is the intense emotional state that accompanies the loss of someone, or something, with whom, or with what, one has had a deep emotional connection. It is one of the basal emotions associated with the feeling of objectively or subjectively losing a significant object, part of an identity, or an expected future. Grief is also understood to be a strong, deep sadness. It is irrelevant whether or not an actual loss has occurred in the person's life. Just life itself subjectively in the person's mind and soul will be grief. At this stage of psychosomatic affection, people develop diseases of the lungs and the whole respiratory system. What exactly will be affected depends on the individual characteristics of the person. Even lower is the floor where a person experiences even more complex negative emotions. Guilt. Feeling unworthy of anything good in life. Feeling like a victim. Guilt is a negatively colored feeling, the object of which is some act of the subject, which seems to him the cause of negative consequences for other people or himself or herself. On this floor, the person gives up the desire to be happy. Such a person lives with chronic depression, does not get further in a relationship than a first date, and if he has any interests and hobbies, does not even try to truly realize them. He always feels anxiety, but cannot pinpoint its source. Regardless of whether such a person is aware of what is happening or not, the result is the same. There is a slow but irreversible erosion of life. Victim syndrome is a personality trait in which a person considers himself a victim of the negative actions of other people or circumstances. Not only does he think so, but he also behaves as if he is obvious evidence of it. Such behavior is practiced to the point of automatism. All of this leads to great problems with mental and physical health. Such people evaluate life through black glasses. Why do I have all this trouble? What did I do wrong? Or it's his fault, not mine. All the trouble in my life is because of him. These people think sex is dirty. They don't notice children. Their head is occupied with thoughts of extraterrestrial life, and they are not interested in real life, and it just passes them by. At this stage of psychosomatic affection, people develop diseases of the heart and the whole cardiovascular system. Finally, the lowest floor of mental hell is the floor of such emotions as hopelessness, apathy, and uselessness. Hopelessness is characterized by a lack of hope, optimism, and passion for life. This feeling can be described as a mixture of heartache, discouragement, and frustration that leads to a loss of meaning in life. It is a strong emotion that negatively affects how one perceives oneself, other people, personal circumstances, and the world as a whole. Hopelessness means ceasing to appreciate even those things and events that were once very important. This emotion is associated with a lack of inspiration, with feelings of powerlessness, helplessness, abandonment, oppression, and social rejection. Apathy is a lowered interest in the world and people around. This condition is observed in several mental disorders. Apathy itself is a symptom of some serious illnesses, such as depression, schizophrenia, diseases of the central nervous system, dementia, HIV, brain tumor, alcoholism, drug addiction, endocrine disorders, cancer. I think the term uselessness needs no explanation. While at this final stage of psychosomatic damage, people evaluate life as follows. Life sucks. Everything is useless. And fuck it. Better pour some wine. Socially, he is a man-vegetable. He is alive as an organism but is incapable of doing any good. No attempt to reproduce. Emotional devastation and degradation. Thoughts of suicide. In terms of health, these are chronically ill people, their illnesses are virtually untreatable. So, now you know how a person sinks into their emotional hell. We were all once good, sweet, optimistic, trusting people who thought only good things and believed that all dreams would come true. But life is such a thing that many things don't come true the way we would like them to. One gets disappointed and begins to slide down the emotional tunnel from enthusiasm and joy first to monotony and boredom. then to anger, through it to fear and despair, and then to grief and guilt, and at the end of the road, one comes to apathy and worthlessness.
А в конце пути человек приходит к апатии и бесполезности.
On the way to emotional hell, a person loses the most precious thing he has, health and vitality. Descending lower and lower to the deeper floors of the emotional hell, the person gradually loses himself and acquires more and more illnesses. First, the stomach and the digestive system are attacked, then comes the kidneys and the urinary system, then comes the lungs and the respiratory system, then comes the heart and the cardiovascular system. And finally, we see a chronically ill person who goes to the doctors, takes handfuls of pills, and his health becomes worse and worse. However, social stereotypes about health do not allow people to understand the essence of the degradation taking place. Its essence is that the diseases of the body in most cases are a consequence of mental defeat, a movement down the emotional tunnel. And such diseases are called psychosomatic. Today, about 80% of diseases known to medicine are psychosomatic. Psychosomatic diseases are dealt with by a medical psychologist, a specialist of my level. A medical psychologist who specializes in psychosomatics can assess the level of emotional damage, the degree of stress on your health, determine the appropriate therapy, and recommend specialized doctors. A medical psychologist prepares a report for the doctor in which he explains the mechanism of psychosomatic affliction, and the doctor can then treat the cause of the illness rather than the patient's complaints. In other words, the medical psychologist guides the doctor in the right direction and corrects the client's psyche himself. A combination of medical treatment and special psychological treatments is the only working scheme for treating psychosomatic illness. That's why in advanced countries a medical psychologist and a doctor always work together, and those services of a medical psychologist are paid for by state health insurance. That's the end of this video. I recommend that you take the TAS test right now. There is a link to it on every page of my website. By taking the test, you will know your psychosomatic risks, and the testing system will suggest you sign up for one of my consultations. See you soon. All the best to you.